Hello, this is Dan Isenberg, and welcome to the very first podcast in the ScaleApp series of podcasts. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, what this podcast is about, and some of the principles. In terms of my own background, I'm 73 years old. I've been involved in the field of entrepreneurship for close to 40 years now. And I'll give you some examples. These are my credentials, my creds, so to speak. And I want to just get these out of the way. I don't want to dwell on them because this podcast is not about me. It's about how to grow your company or help your friends grow their companies. So a little bit about myself. I've spent about 25 years as a professor, at 11 years at Harvard Business School, 12 years actually at Columbia as an adjunct professor, and elsewhere. In fact, I taught the first course in entrepreneurship, technology entrepreneurship in Israel in 1987. I've taught over 2,000 students, many of whom have gone on to do great things, especially building companies. I've also, in something we call a program that I invented, called ScaleApp. We've trained over 500 companies in 10 different countries around the world to grow, and most of them, in fact, do show new growth. As an investor, I've made over 100 investments. I'll be honest with you, 100 investments in about 50 companies. And about half of those have failed completely, totally. The other half of the other half, a quarter of them, are probably going to fail or not do very well. And another quarter are going to do anywhere from okay to amazingly well. Enough do amazingly well in order to make the economics of that work. But I'll be honest with you, it's not easy. I also have venture capital investments in 6 funds around the world, very different kinds of funds and very different countries. I've also was for several years a founding venture capitalist or a founding general partner in a venture capital fund in Israel. I've published well over 20 cases on companies that scale or are trying to scale or have challenges scaling, and one book called Worthless, Impossible, and Stupid in 2013, which was published by Harvard Business Review Press. It sold maybe 30,000 copies. It's not a great bestseller. It's done okay. And it's a book about the saga of entrepreneurship, particularly outside of the United States. So that's all about me that you need to know for now. This, as I said, this podcast is not about me. It's about you, and it's about growth. So what are we going to do here? I see 3 buckets of things, and of course it's going to evolve over time. One is we're going to have lots of examples. I'm going to interview entrepreneurs, a lot of them successful, some of them not successful, who have done a pretty good job in growing their companies. Even though, by the way, I don't make a big distinction between amazing growth and good growth. I think all growth is good, and not everyone wants to take the risks or has it in them to grow extraordinarily rapidly, which is fine. I have a rule of 17s that, just to illustrate this, if you grow a company by 17%, for 17 years, it'll be 17 times as big, roughly speaking. It's easy to remember that. So we're going to have lots of examples and some really cool interviews. We're going to give you some tips from time to time. I don't want to lecture. I've lectured enough in my life, but there are some things that I think are useful for you to know. And I'll also invite other experts in different areas of entrepreneurship, different areas of scaling up, to come and talk with me and talk to you, obviously. And then third, there'll be some tools from time to time, checklists or tables or other kinds of frameworks that I think will be useful for you and for your friends. So the third thing I want to say about ScaleApp, they're going to be short and hopefully to the point. I'm going to shoot for less than 15 minutes, even though my friends tell me that a podcast should be longer. I don't think so, and I respect your time. Your time is your most important resource. If you want to spend more time listening to my podcasts, well, listen to lots of them instead of just one. So there's going to be no bullshit, short and to the point, going to be honest. I make mistakes. I'll do my best to admit them. As I say, of the 105 by now investments I've made, half of them have failed. We have to be honest about the risks involved. And then thirdly, we're going to get right to the point as much as possible. So that's it. Here we go. We're off and running. Or I should say, we're off and scaling. Hope to be in touch with you and invite you to join.